Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you have joined us today. As always, I am Priya Patra. I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. And today we are going to discuss a very important topic, and that is diversity in project management. And can it impact business outcomes? So if you see on the screen, this is our season 4, that is the 4th year of this initiative, event 5, the 32nd event of this entire initiative. And our spotlight chapter is PMI Luxembourg chapter. We will talk about this, about the chapter, and we will hear from the president of the chapter in a few minutes from now. I first of all welcome everyone to this again amazing event, and with me I have Priscilla, our chapter leader from PMI Sao Paulo, Brazil chapter.
And welcome everyone. I'm Priscilla. I'm a PMI volunteer for many years and currently a member of the Governance Council of PMI Sao Paulo chapter and the chapter's liaison for this fantastic chapter exchange initiative. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you, Priscilla. And we have Hiral, who is our chapter leader from PMI Gujarat, India chapter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Vice President for Volunteer Development Portfolio of Gujarat chapter and associated with various initiatives of PMI like Women Engagement Committee, Volunteer Development Program, and of course, Chapter Exchange Program. So I welcome all of you and I look forward to this excellent panel discussion which is coming up, which I personally like a lot. So welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Hiral. And we have Damike Mendes, our chapter leader from PMI Sri Lanka chapter.
Hi everyone, I'm Damika Mendes from PMI Sri Lanka chapter. I am the Executive Vice President of Sri Lanka chapter and have been with Chapter Exchange program from season 1. Welcome all.
Thank you, Damike. And over to you, Priscilla, to welcome everyone to this event.
Welcome again to PMI Chapter Exchange Season 4, Event 5. And as Priya said, today we're going to discuss diversity in project management, impact to business outcomes. Today we have our PMI friends joining in from 25 different PMI chapters from across the globe, North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, plus many more supporting chapters from the globe.
It seems I'm here. Okay, thank you. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
This is our exchange effect map. We love it. We have for today's event registrations from 81 countries. Amazing. Thank you all for this warm response to this initiative and for joining us today.
And next, thank you, Priscilla, for creating this map.
Yeah. You are welcome. So, and please say hello to each other and keep networking as we begin. Today, we are pleased to announce that we have over 1,300 plus registrations from all over the world, 81 countries as mentioned before, from Alaska to New Zealand and all countries and continents in between. And please let us know where you're coming from using the Menti link shared in the chat. We'd like to remind you that this meeting is being recorded. So if you feel uncomfortable in any way, you can choose not to attend. If not, you are welcome to continue. We also highlight that everyone here at this event is speaking in our individual capacity. Then, our opinions do not represent the opinions of our organizations in any way. So, Pablo, so ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our guest speaker of the day, Pablo Ledon. Since 1995, Pablo has guided business development projects in multinational companies around the world, coordinated training programs for executives, started companies, and helped enterprises to reach their strategic objectives through projects. After working as a financial analyst for Towers Perrin in England, Pablo became an entrepreneur, founding 6 companies, ranging from retail to financial services. Today, he continues as a board director of 3 of those companies, apart from being on the board of PMI Global. Pablo's experience is not just in success, but also in failure, adaptability, and reinvention. He has published 10 project management books, including his bestseller Project Manager, and delivered training and consulting to more than 20,000 executives in 20 countries. He has written articles and been interviewed by international media, radio, magazines, and blogs. He has been selected as a speaker for several PMI Global and Regional Congresses and received the PMI Distinguished Contribution Award in 2012. Moreover, he was a board director at PMI Buenos Aires chapter and founder and first president of PMI Nuevo Cuyo chapter. Both of those chapters received the PMI Chapter of the Year award during his volunteer work. He was a PMIF board director, serving as board chair in 2020. Currently, he's a PMI board director. Wow. So I hand over to you, Pablo, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Can you hear me well? Because we have not. Yes, good.
Perfect.
So thank you very much for this warm introduction. That's too much, yeah. The most important, I'm a father of 3 boys, yeah, and my wife Marcela, who is a lawyer. This is the most important of my background. And thank you very much, Prija, for this invitation. It is a pleasure to be with you. What you are doing to connecting chapters from all over the world. This is real diversity and inclusion, yeah. So you are dealing by example in the topic that you are covering today. So Prija asked me to make some small introduction of the topic that you're going to talk today, and I want to connect this with what we are doing in PMI. So I have been now this is my 3rd year in the PMI Board of Director, and I've been 6 years in the PMI Educational Foundation Board of Director. And what I've learned in these past 9 years is that diversity and inclusion is a must. Yeah, it's not like, oh, maybe let's try to do it, and there are so many benefits. I don't have too much time to explain all of them, but if we take just some of them, one is innovation. Yeah, when you have different mindset, because when I said diversity, I'm not talking here about gender. I'm talking about gender and age and cultures and thinking. So what I learned that the most important part is different thinking. If you're in a board meeting in your chapters or in your companies, in your organizations, and every time you have a meeting, everybody is in agreement, yes, let's do it. There is something missing there, yeah? So for sure, there is not too much diversity. When you start dealing with those different mindsets that someone says black and the other one say, no, it's white, and you start those intensive, interesting discussion, this is when diversity is working. These are something that say, oh yeah, so if I don't have at least one of those meetings during the year, you are not dealing very well with diversity. And when you have those different mindsets, so you get the innovation. When someone black, white, the innovation starts there. So it's very, very good to have that kind of things. The other important part is when to solve a problem. When there is an issue, again, if everybody thinking exactly in the same direction, it's very difficult to solve the issue in a better way. So diversity is very important to problem solving. In organizations, like even in PMI, like members say, hey, what's happening with diversity? We want more females in the board. Okay, now there are more females than men. We want a younger generation in that board. Now we have younger people in the board. We want to cover all regions around the world. We have most of the regions. So those kind of things are important for retention. Like in our case, as PMI, members is the key stakeholder, volunteers are the key stakeholders. And if you don't lead by example, showing that you really have diversity in whatever you are doing, they run away and they go to a different place. Exactly the same is happening in organizations. Like the employees who are working in your organization, if they are not seeing that diversity, they prefer to go and work into a different place. And finally, but not least, customer satisfaction. Yeah, so it's proven in the world today that when you have diversity in the things, in the product you are developing, in the way you are managing your organizations, your end customer, the one buying your products and services, they are much more happier than seeing only one single direction. So these are just the 4 points that I really want to highlight today. You're going to cover much more during the presentation, so I don't want to use more time because Priya will say, no, Pablo, it was only a few minutes for the introduction. So I welcome you to stay connected and learn a lot in what we are going to hear today. So thank you very much, Priscilla and Priya, for making this happen.
Thank you, Pablo. So today I know if in my team everyone is agreeing, that means I don't have a diverse team, right? So we are not solving the right problem. So those were very good points. 4 points: problem solving, employee retention, right? And customer satisfaction as well as innovation. Diversity can help us to get all these things together. So why not encourage diversity? So thank you, Pablo, for this wonderful speech. Please do stay along for the panel discussion, and that will be more exciting as well, because we do have a diverse panel here. So people sometimes ask us why there are no women panelists on this, some events we don't have women panelists. So they ask us, and I tell them, well, this entire program is run by women. So you see Priscilla, you see myself, you see Anita. I mean, we have lots of women over here, women leaders who are managing this. So yes, we do encourage diversity, and thank you, Pablo, for this wonderful message. And with this, I will move on to the next part where we kind of talk about our initiative a bit. Now, what is our initiative? I bet everyone knows by now what this initiative is all about. But just to, kind of refresh everyone, ours is a chapter collaboration initiative. And we stole this title from our ex-CEO, One Team, One Song and One Dance. And right now we have 25 chapters who are partnering with us on this entire initiative. It's actually totally virtual. And trust me, I had not met a single chapter leader with whom I worked for the last 3 years until December 2022 when we went to Las Vegas. So you can imagine for 2 years we were working even without meeting with them face to face. So how did we, what is our vision? Our vision is to evangelize cross-chapter collaboration and to encourage cultural diversity. And of course, that helps us to build a strong team and spur networking and collaboration opportunities. And by doing this, we believe we are building a community to share good practices within and external to the program. Now, how did we do this, right? And yes, there are no secret sauce as such, but we did try to pen down our experiences in this book, which is available on Amazon. And Priscilla and Damike will drop the link to the book on the chat window. I am reminding them if they don't forget, just to ensure that they don't forget. But yes, this is, as you see, again, this is a collaborative effort. It's not one person citing their experience, but there are 6 authors from all across the globe citing their experiences. And the book is here right now with me. And it is also there on Amazon. Please feel free to, it's available free on Kindle Unlimited as well. So yeah, feel free to read it. Send us your feedback, your ideas, comments, all are welcome. And with this, I hand over the stage to Damike to introduce the Spotlight chapter of the month.
Thanks, Priya. So let me introduce Eloise, the president of the PMI Luxembourg chapter. Eloise is a strategic change program and project manager. She is dedicated in finding beauty around herself and passionate about getting stuff done. So before I hand over the stage to you, Eloise, as always, I have two questions for you. First one, what is the time they are now at your side and the date? And what does the logo of your chapter signify? Over to you, Eloise.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. It is a very nice Friday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock, 4:16, I'll say. And it's the 16th of June, which means that Luxembourg will have a national vacation and a national day in just a couple of days. The symbol of our chapter, as you can see also in the picture, is the Gelefra, which is the name of the Golden Lady. And she's been chosen at the end of the First World War, where Luxembourg was invaded, as a symbol of freedom and independence. She stays on top of a monument. You can see there's the picture as well, which is very high, and it's in the city center. And basically, you can see it pretty much from most of the city center. And the monument was destroyed after the Second War and rebuilt. And Luxembourgish people are very proud of their little golden lady on top of the monument. Diversity is a topic that Luxembourg knows very well. I don't know if you are familiar with the country, but it's one of the smallest in Europe. And we border with Germany, France, and Belgium. And the population is very limited. The country is very small, and we have 600,000 people pretty much, of which 48% are strangers to the country. They moved here including myself, they moved here for work, they stayed, they learn one of the three languages that we speak in the country, which are Luxembourgish, French, and German. And then they stayed because the country is very welcoming and very well structured. As I mentioned, it's a tiny country. It's the only Grand Duchy in the world. It's a monarchy constitution. It's a constitutional monarchy. So we have a Grand Duke, but we also have elections and a parliament and the general stuff that goes with it. It is one of the smallest countries in Europe, but also one of the richest in the world. This is due typically to the uncanny ability of Luxembourg and Luxembourgish people to reinvent themselves and to look at the future in a completely different way. If you visit the country, well, first it's going to take a weekend. A week eventually, if you really, really want to dig into the nature and the hiking trails, or if you're into mountain biking, that might take a little bit longer. But it is a very specific place where they started to be very rich due to steel. You might be familiar with ArcelorMittal, which was originated in Luxembourg. And it was one of the first countries that had the brevet for how to work steel, and the same brevet was used to build New York, basically. So they got very rich. And at some point, they realized that that was not the very best solution to go with the flow in the future. So they became bankers. And out of that, now they are investing in space. So they really think ahead of what the future might like. And this also goes with the integration. Okay, we need more people. How are we going to integrate them in the future of this country? And it's something that I really appreciate living here, thinking that integration doesn't come in a day. It needs to be thought of, it needs to be strategically planned, and it needs to be acted day by day. As for our small chapter, we are 250. We've been chartered in 2012, and we have more than 40 nationalities in the chapter, which, by the way, includes the highest number of women in the board and the youngest director in Europe, which is Aurora. Priya knows her very well. She's 24 and she's been appointed and elected by our members as directors of members and volunteer. So yeah, Luxembourg, banks, fund management, space in the future, integration, a lot of nice places to visit in a very short time, good wine. If you want to join us, we are here and we will be happy to have you. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Eloise. And let me introduce you to our session moderator, Madeline. A bit about Madeline. She's a highly motivated, result-focused consultant and graduate of UAE College of Engineering Project Management. And she's a VP of Business Improvement Group, an Alaska-based business consultancy that is passionate about helping businesses, big and small, reach their full potential. She uses over 10 years of industry expertise and proven techniques and tools such as Lean Six Sigma, ITSM, BPI, COBIT, and more to help our clients and find opportunities for cost savings, create a customer-centric culture, gain market share, and more. With this, I hand over the stage to you, Madeline, to take it all away. Over to you.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Can everybody hear and see me okay today? Awesome. Okay. Good morning, everybody. From wherever you're tuning in from, I am in Alaska, USA. It is a cold, rainy summer morning here, so I hope you are having better weather wherever you are. I'm honored to be moderating session 4, event 5 of the PMI Chapter Xchange today. Diversity in project management impacts on business outcomes, an important topic indeed. Again, an honor to be moderating. We've got a great panel with us today to discuss this topic. If you haven't checked them out on LinkedIn already, please do so. They are all wonderful. I'm going to briefly introduce them to you now, starting with Maureen, who is joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. She is head of Enterprise Project Management Office East Africa, Old Mutual. She specializes in portfolio management as well as organizational change. And an interesting fact about Maureen is that she is a self-proclaimed foodie and loves receiving food as gifts, which she claims is her love language as well. We also have Ario, who's joining us from Lima, Peru. He is a youth and social impact coordinator from the PMI Lima Peru chapter and also project manager in Panorama BPO. Ario specializes in supply chain and strategic planning and is a marathon runner, hoping to complete a full marathon in his city next year. Good luck, Ario. We also have Julie with us today. She's living in Dubai, but originally from the Philippines. She's a chemical engineer and project manager by profession, now CEO of DC Project Management Services. Julie specializes in business development and technical sales. She is a certified PMP and has been applying that to her long-term and favorite project, her 2 beautiful children. Finally, we have Dimitra, who's joining us from Athens, Greece. She is a line manager and a Greek telecommunication systems vendor. She specializes in multinational projects, risk management, and is also a life coach, which is awesome. In her free time, Dimitra enjoys walking, dancing, and knitting. So thank you to all of our panelists again for being here today to share your thoughts and experience on diversity. So of course, today we're here to talk about diversity's impacts on project management and business outcomes specifically, but I'd like to kick off the discussion today with a roundtable question on more of a personal note to get to know our panelists just a little bit better. So starting with Maureen, who's joining us from East Africa. In short, how would you say diversity in project management has affected you personally?
Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. This go fast.
Yes.
Fantastic. So lucky for me, I have had to work in an organization that has presence in at least 13 countries across Africa. And I've managed to travel some of these countries and I've worked with very many colleagues from these countries as well. What diversity has done for me, it has made me more culturally aware. It made me see how valuable it is to incorporate people's feedbacks, people's opinion. I have built so many connections with people across the 13 countries. One of my biggest mentors and cheerleader is actually from South Africa and a Zimbabwean at that. To make it, I think the bottom line for me is the one thing that sticks with me is that it's not enough to just focus on working with diverse people. I think you have to go the extra mile to make sure that we are also inclusive and that we're promoting equity, that these diverse individuals are actually given a free space to speak, equal pay if that's what's needed, from millennials to our older staff members. We all have something really valuable to contribute. And most importantly, variety is a spice of life. So for me, having these diverse groups has made work not boring at all. You're always looking forward to new ideas. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Maureen. Aria, would you like to share next?
Yes, of course. Well, I've been working with multicultural teams the last years, and I feel that it was a very good experience because I have increased my leadership skills. Because if you want to increase your leadership skills, you have to increase your emotional intelligence. But if you want to increase your emotional intelligence, you need to grow up with empathy. Empathy is very important. Understand how these people from many parts of the world, people from China, people from Czech, Poland, Germany, Brazil, from other countries, because my team works from many parts of the world, but here in Peru, and how they feel far away from their homes, it was very important. It feels there's an intense connection with them because they feel far away from their homes, they miss their families, most of them. The empathy was very important, and I think I now a best leader now. I'm a better leader now than before this experience, and for that reason, I think the work with multicultural teams with many diversity, you can learn a lot, but especially the leadership. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Aria. I think that's a really good point about being empathetic. And speaking of life coaching, we'll go ahead and ask Dimitra next. Dimitra, how has diversity in project management affected you personally?
Madeleine, I think that's an excellent question to start with. Thanks for that. also myself, I started and I continue my professional career in a multinational and multicultural working environment. And that gave me the opportunity to meet and collaborate with many people of different origins, backgrounds, experiences, way of thinking. You know, I will say that it was not an easy ride. It had its difficulties, still has, but it greatly supported me to grow as a professional and as a person. 2 points that I learned and I want to share with you, and I keep as a cornerstones in my life. First, to understand others, as Oreo said, but really understand. Do not assume. Be sure that you understand. And secondly, to accept disagreement in terms of accepting different opinions, and more specifically, accept that we cannot all agree in everything. And much more than this, to remember that great results come from blending of differences. Thank you, Madeleine.
Thank you, Dimitra. I love those 2 points. One of my favorite quotes is listening to understand versus listening to simply respond. So Julie, last but certainly not least, please tell us, how has diversity in project management affected you personally?
Yeah, thank you for that. Fortunately for my case, living in a diverse city like Dubai for almost, I think, 2 decades now, we are exposed to this mindset. So diversity and global mindedness are integral to our DNA already. So diversity in project management has personally shaped me to become open-minded, adaptable, and empathetic, like what Oreo said earlier, professionally. It enhanced also my collaboration and people skills, because back then we are really in a box, in our home country. But living here for almost 2 years, I was able to adapt to different culture. Communication as well was developed through the years, staying here in Dubai for the past 2 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. And thank you all for your thoughtful responses. I think we can all agree that diversity plays a huge role, not only in business, but of course in our personal lives as well. So let's with this next question dive a little deeper into organizational diversity, specifically about building diverse teams and diverse project teams. And for the audience, we want to hear from you. Don't forget to put your thoughts and questions in the chat, and we'll pull them for the panel to respond to as well. So this next question is for Dimitra. Can you comment on the key challenges or barriers that organizations typically face when trying to build diverse project teams, and then of course how they can be overcome?
Well, one could say a very high number of challenges and barriers. Let me try to select the most important ones. I think one of the first barrier is the unconscious bias, because often we have, as managers, as leaders, we have implicit biases that influence our decision making. And by that, we try sometimes to be around people that are very much the same, that they think similarly with us. And we avoid considering a diverse range of candidates. This unconscious bias is inside us and maybe inside our colleagues, and we have to deal with that, face it, and try to change it. Another challenge could be that we have, as companies, a limited talent pool, and depending on the industry, of course, there might be limited pools of diverse candidates to choose from due to several reasons. We have also to look for ways to overcome this. And a third one could be the resistance organizations and people's resistance to change. Some people or some organizations may be resistant to change, feeling uncomfortable with working with people from different backgrounds, and that can leave can lead to tension or conflict. To overcome those, I could think training as a way to go further, to recognize our weaknesses and fight with them. I would also recommend to expand our recruiting efforts to reach diverse communities and networks, and again inside the company to try to create a welcoming and respectful and safe environment that values diversity, values different opinions, and encourages collaboration. And if all those are the above are not enough, we could also think of establishing diversity goals inside the organization. Some organizations may accept that, some others not, but for the majority, I believe it has a good outcome.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Dimitra. Thank you. I do a lot of training in my current role, and it is so important in various areas, but especially diversity, especially in the current climate that we're living in. And I know, Dimitra, you are experienced in leadership coaching, and that's something we do as well. And so, as you know, and probably many of the others on the WebEx call today, that type of leadership coaching or training exposes our natural biases. And of course, they are natural, right? We're all raised differently, we're nurtured differently. And so it's natural to have those biases, but it's our responsibility to take a look at them, expose them, and see what it looks like to be on the other side of our leadership, especially as project managers. So I know we have Pablo on the call with us still as well. Pablo, is anything coming up for you so far? Anything you'd like to share? Do you have anything to share on common challenges or barriers with diversity for organizations and potential solutions?
I really like what you all said. I agree with all the topics. But something in my mind, when you talk about diversity, for example, we talk about cultures, and we think that people in India is completely different than people from Argentina or Mendoza, where I'm from. Yeah, we have that thinking that, oh, if I have someone from India and someone from Japan and the States and Argentina together, we've done with diversity. Yeah, we check the diversity piece. And what I learned in all these years is that, yeah, what you will learn in that, when you open diversity to regions, is that food is different, that maybe the way you get married is different. Yeah, the process to get married is different. You will learn that will be awesome. Yeah, a great experience. But at the end of the day, in business, because here we are talking diversity for business impact, the most important is what I said at the beginning, diversity in mindset. Yeah, I can have a perfect match with someone from Japan, yeah, and we agree in everything, and we have a very similar thinking, and we move again. Or in India, yeah, we different, but when we work, we are working exactly the same. And here in the city where I live in Mendoza, I have with a person with a completely different mindset. Oh my God, that diversity, yeah, and that's a challenge. And these are the important things you have. So I've been through many interviews all this year, and do you have experience working with different cultures? I think it's important, it's nice to see what's happening in different places of the world. But for diversity impact in business, let's think in diversity in mindset. Yeah, someone who think completely different than us. This is the way that we are going to make things happen, in find solutions to problems, go into innovation path, and so on. So this is the message I want to try to put after all these years of working with global volunteers from all over the world.
Thank you, Pablo. Yeah, the diversity mindset or paradigm even starting out is great and something we should definitely all keep in mind. So keeping on the topic of diversity within project teams, this next question is for Ario. Ario, what steps can be taken to ensure that diverse perspectives, once you have a diverse project team, are heard and valued, especially within leadership?
Yes, of course. Well, I think the first step is to identify the team, identify the different cultures, to identify the different generations also, because the millennial generation is not similar to the centennial generation. They have different necessities that we have to identify and also work as an organization to accompany them. Well, and for that reason, I think the first step is identify all of them, all the different groups that we have here in the organization. Then you have to elaborate on a strategy, how you can work in the necessities that they have, to identify them and also work in them. And finally, execute this plan that you have with these different cultures. And finally, have a feedback. Also make a control that if you have these necessities, you accomplish them. And if they work well, go ahead. But if something go bad, maybe we have to have another plan to accomplish them. As I mentioned before, I have that experience with, for example, with the people that I work in my job. You know that in Peru we have a delicious food, but it's also spicy, and most of them don't have to eat all the days that this spicy food. You have to identify a strategy to have a special diet for them, and for that reason you need to identify these topics, and that's my opinion.
No, thank you, Ario. I love that. Identify, support, execute, and then of course our project management lessons learned and continual improvement, right? That's a beautiful answer. Julie, do you have any thoughts to add? Anything Ario spoke about, bring up anything for you? I think you're on mute still.
Yeah,
Julie.
for
Thank
me,
you.
like what Oreo said, any organization needs to foster a culture that embraces diversity and inclusion, where all team members feel definitely respected and valued. It's really a must that each team members have the opportunity to actively participate and contribute to all aspects in an organization. And of course, creating a safe space where team members feel comfortable in sharing their ideas, giving them opportunity to speak up, and through like different techniques like brainstorming sessions, rotating decision-making roles, or ensuring that speaking opportunities, like equal opportunities for each team members.
Yeah, very good points, Julie. I think that that's a really important point that you reinforced there, that creating a safe place so that you're not just, creating a project team that's diverse to check a box, but you're also fostering that safe space for people to share and be honest and, like Ario said, feel supported, so that we can really dive into those diverse mindsets that Pablo was talking about for creative problem solving and collaboration. So I think that safe place is really important. So speaking of mindset, kind of going back to that topic, we do have a question from the audience, and the question is, does mindset affect the diversity in professional life? Anybody want to tackle that one out the gate?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Dimitra.
Surely, definitely, yes, yes, yes. As mindset affects us all in all aspects of our life and work, it does the same with diversity. We have to be open to other opinions. As I said before, other decisions, even technical decisions, believe it, are many times affected from the way of thinking and from the background that we have. Also actions that we do inside our working environment, how we treat others, how we interact with others, and how we communicate, what we do in difficult decisions, everything has to do with our mindset towards very specific and important things. This mindset, if we want to go for a safe environment that values diversity and equity, we have to work on this. And that is hard. It is not easy, and it doesn't happen from day 0 to day 1. We have to think, work with ourselves, first of all, and when we feel that we have worked enough with ourselves, we will try to also train and make the others do the same. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Dimitra. So we've got sort of a follow-up question from the audience. So birds of a feather flock together is an old proverb. Keeping in mind what steps need to be taken so that we can successfully tune people's mindsets to align to project objectives, thus boosting overall productivity? Or is it no issue with a diverse team?
I'd like to take that one, Madeline.
Maureen?
As a diverse team, the one thing that I have benefited from, I'd say, would be that as an organization, we are promoting diversity from recruitment process. Even when identifying your talent, you're making sure that it's not just about certifications. It's not just about saying things like the males would be preferred candidates or whatnot. It's about looking at someone's experience, looking at about the value they've added, whether they're a millennial or not, looking at how their contribution to the team would make us so. And you realize as human beings, we're also we have an unconscious bias. And when you're in a panel interview, for example, you're probably looking for someone who is just the same or ticks the boxes for you. But it's important for you now to make sure to support the diversity by making sure you have probably a diverse panel, to make sure that it's not just your opinion that drives that. And even in that situation, your mindset is changing because you're getting opinions from very different people. And you realize that the team that you're going to bring together is probably going to be a much stronger team because it ticks so many feelings or experiences from the people. So it's definitely really important for all of us. It's not just human capital, not just when you're hiring the panel interview or a manager, but also as a team, make sure that we take away our unconscious bias. We have been wired in a particular way for very, very long, and you will always have that assumption. Take away the assumptions, and that's when you succeed.
Thank you, Maureen. Ario, do you have anything to add to that? Anything coming up?
Yes, I really agree with Maureen. I'm really sure when you start to work with a multicultural team, your experience change. You add the experience, you add the traditions from the people when you are working. Also, when you don't have to also to have a multicultural team, you can also share that experience with people that work in the same country, as Pablo mentioned before. For example, if you have young people that you are working with them, maybe in the dinner, maybe in the lunch, you can share with them all your experience, and also they share your experience. You can learn. You don't have to be the most experienced person. You can learn also from less experienced person, and I think that's very important.
Thank you, Ario. So we've talked about how diversity is not just gender, right? And it's not just race, it's lots of different things. And so this next question is actually geared toward age and the different generations and how we can work better together. So the question is, merging different generations in a project team can be a challenge. Can any of our panelists share your experience with merging separate generations and how you were able to do that successfully? Do you have any tips for us that you can share? Anybody want to take that question?
Well, I can.
Pablo?
Go, Audio, go, Audio.
Oh, thank you, Pablo. Yes, well, as I mentioned before, I was working as a youth and social impact coordinator here in Lima, Peru, and I work with young people here. And yes, it's very difficult because now that new generations are more independent. They want that independence to make decisions, to also to act in some projects, and I think that's very difficult because maybe the older generations want to have more control in the project. And for that reason, I think that's very difficult, but you need to understand their needs and how you can adapt your leadership to your project team now. And for that reason, I think identify that needs and also make a strategy is very important to execute them and also get that feedback to increase your level of leadership.
Yes, absolutely. Pablo, follow. Oh, go ahead, Dimitri.
On this?
Absolutely.
At a point of time, a couple of years ago, we had many young people coming in our department. So because of the work demands, we decided to make a team with 5, 6 of them. And that team was working together with other teams where elder people were working. This started fine, everybody was very happy and going on with that. But on the way, we saw that there were some differences that we could not understand why some things happened and what's happening there. It proved that this separation did not help at all because they were not changing opinions, they were not changing experiences and way of thinking and reacting in certain circumstances. When we understood that, we did a team reshuffling and we made teams mixed from all the ages. And that was the real solution to our problem because everybody was starting to understand again each other and put valuable thoughts and valuable insight in the team ways of working. And that's a personal experience that I would like very much to share. Do not do that. Mix people.
I can jump if you want, Madeleine. Yes. Yeah, I really like the question because from all those factors of diversity, this is my favorite. Yeah, in my experience, I am an entrepreneur. I have different organization, and if you see, which is one topic that really make the difference in diversity is age. Yeah, today any single project needs technology. Yeah, there is no one single project that you will not have a technology part in the project. And the younger generations are much more familiar with the new technologies than us. Yeah, when I say us, I'm a 51 going to 52 now. Yeah, I'm far away of the new thing that is happening every single day. So in this particular topic of age, sometimes you need to force diversity. What do I mean by that? Like the traditional way of hiring someone from a job is taking a look at a curriculum and you're looking for experience, and taking a look at an interview. Yeah, these are the two main things that we say, oh, this is the best person for the role. And this new generation, maybe they have not been in so many interviews in their life. Yeah, they are starting with the interview, so maybe they are not very good in the interview. And their curricula, for sure, they don't have experience. Yeah, if they're 20 years old, they don't have experience compared with that person from Silicon Valley working in the Google with 35 years of experience, blah, 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 blah. So what I mean by that force diversity is think out of the box and say, okay, we need in this team someone below 25 years old. let's look at the best person below 25 years old, and don't compare that person with the other ones, with the 50, with the 40, with the 30, with all those good interviews and great experience and so on. And I'm going to give you a real example in my life. In one of my companies, I'm a professor in one university, and I found one student, 20 years old. He was amazing, business administration, but the using of technology was incredible. So I went back to my company. I talked with the C-suite. Hey, we need to hire this person to take the role of all the technology we have in the company. No, you're crazy, Pablo. No experience. And blah, blah. Let's try it. 2 hours per day. Yeah. After those 2 hours per day, next week was half a day. 2 months later, he was the CTO with 21 years old. Yeah, he was in charge of all the technology team in the organization. But if I didn't force that diversity, that will never ever happen. If just looking at the curriculum and interviews, it will never happen. So I recommend you to force some diversity topics in some particular situations.
Yeah, that this question or piece of the discussion really resonates with me. I am, as a younger person, I am actually 25, and I was put or forced, I suppose you could say, in my current position by my partner and mentor, who is on the call today as well. He's, sorry, Jim, in his 60s now, or he's getting up there. And so we have had to find creative ways to work together and understand each other, but he has always created a safe place for me to feel understood and like my ideas and opinions are valuable, even though they are different than his. And a lot of the organizations that we work with, where typically people are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s in the teams we're working with. And so Pablo, I can really appreciate someone who is in a position to lift up a young person and kind of force that diversity, because it really does bring that value. And I've had experiences on kind of both sides where we'll work with an organization and they will either want to work with me because I'm a young person and I can bring that different perspective, different skills to the table, or they don't want to work with me, or they don't trust me because I don't have the experience, and how could I understand, right? Yeah, so thank you, Pablo, for sharing that. So we've got some more questions from the audience here that I definitely want to get to. So let's see. How to lead multi-generational teams where diversity is very high in terms of concepts. So how can project managers foster diverse and multicultural team environments without having any bias or reservations about a particular culture or country per se? So I'm going to repeat that last part one more time to respond to. How can project managers foster diverse and multicultural team environments without having bias or reservations about a particular country or culture per se?
Take that one.
Maureen, yeah, please.
Yeah, so as a project manager, I think your biggest responsibility is to make sure that everyone is working towards the vision that's been set. So your responsibility is to make sure that regardless of how diverse the team is that we're all focused on the end goal. And realize you can't reward everyone in the same way. So let's say we have a target to complete a task in a day, in a week's time. And you need to ask people specifically, how can I reward you, or how do I motivate you? Don't assume, because different generation will give you different answers. And person in the older generation probably tell you, give me a bonus or give me some extra money to get to the target. And then a younger person probably tell you, I just need a day off to go attend a hackathon, right? So it's very important for you to make sure you're having conversations with people, that you're asking them directly, what do I need to do to keep you happy? And then as a project manager, show them the utopia or wherever you want us to go, but then step aside and let them work in whatever way they need to work. The younger generation is not confined to our 8 to 5, which we are, the older ones would probably be used to. They have things they need to do, they have school and stuff like that. Allow them that flexibility as well. If it's going to get the job done, allow them that flexibility. Give them time to actually go into their creative mode and work for you and develop. But at the same time, use the diversity on the team to actually learn and mentor each other. So the senior person with more experience is able to hold someone's hand and guide them if they're going off track. And the younger person is also able to act like a tester for this new app we're trying to build. So in-house, you already have it. You have it all. You have input from the different generations. You're sure to create something that's going to be acceptable by everyone.
Thank you, Maureen. So how would you suggest that if you were doing something like that, like having a younger person on the team mentor an older person on the team and vice versa, and let's say the older person was adverse to this happening? So as a leader, how would you kind of coach them and help them understand the importance of what you just said? Because a lot of times that's something that we see, right? And Dimitra, maybe this is something you can add to as a leadership coach.
Okay, yeah. I will repeat the same word. Safety. Be sure that you create, as a leader, you create a safe environment. It is not easy to have an older person with 20 years of experience to be guided or mentored by a younger person. It is not usually acceptable. We need to respect the experience that he or she has in the shoulders, on the shoulders. But if it is really needed, what we need to find a way to do is to make these people feel comfortable with that, because they could be mentored in a new technology that they don't know because of different reasons. Make them feel that it is not something that it's not good for them, it's something that is good for them, that they are still valuable, that we count on them and things like that. On the other hand, if an older person tries to mentor a younger one, this sounds more easy. Again, it has its own difficulties, that maybe the way that the older person tries to help is not the way that the younger person is feeling that he accepts. And again, here, what is, I think, expected from us as leaders is to coach both, to try to understand them, to try with open questions to see what the problem is and how we can all together solve it. It's not easy. That's what I think we should always remember. It's not something that you say, do it, and it's done.
And Madeleine, just to add to what Dimitra has actually raised, as a project manager, if you are seeing situations of conflict, we are equipped with project management as being both a science and an art. We have that soft skills of resolving this conflict. Speak up on behalf of whoever you feel is not being accommodated in the team. That makes everyone feel like I'm included and I belong. And that obviously brings out those norming or stages of forming a team. So speak up as a project manager.
Absolutely. And that's what I personally love so much about the PMBOK 7 is that focus on those soft skills or the power skills that are getting more included in the content. So thank you, Maureen. Julie, Aria, any thoughts to add on this one?
I think for me, it's really, oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So I think for me, it's important, yeah, to approach the topic with really, and this is a very sensitive and difficult topic. I know I can relate to that. There's really no perfect recipe when it comes to age and even sex as well. But it's really an important topic to topic with that we have to, be mindful of being conscious about the empathy, respect, and focus on creating a positive change. Like for instance, for a younger generation, we can. I don't want to expose my age, but yeah, I've dealt already with a group, and I was really very overwhelmed to deal with younger generations at this time, especially when it comes to digital age. But there's pros and cons on everything. So I always think on the positive side. So I know that I can learn from them. I know it's difficult, especially when it comes when they're discussing about AI. But still, the good side about it is that you're learning. There's a continuous learning. As a project manager, of course, we have to develop the skills of team management. So yeah.
Thank you, Julie. So we have another question from the audience. We're going to kind of focus back on the impact to business outcomes. So we've been talking a lot about project teams and kind of how to manage them. So when looking for better outcomes, we need to I'm going to go back to what Ario said about supporting and executing diversity. And so this question for the audience is along those lines. Can you suggest on how project leaders can ensure that diversity is not only valued, but actively promoted and embraced within project teams to lead to those better business outcomes? So again, suggest how project leaders can ensure that diversity is not only valued, but actively promoted and embraced, leading to those better business outcomes. So suggestions from the panel?
I can suggest to get the business outcomes. I think you have to identify the needings, and then you need to make how these needings can go through the goals of the company. How you can they can be the same. They can go in the same way to get the goals of the company. But you need to identify the needs of your collaborators or maybe the people when you are working to go ahead to these goals. I think that could be very useful, not only for generations, not so multicultural. You can also give these suggestions to people from your country also. You need to identify the needs for all of them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ario. So another question from the audience here, which I think is an important one. So what do you do if it is the project manager who segregates the staff in terms of his or her management style or attitude? So instead of putting yourself in the perspective of the project manager, which we have been so far for the most part, put yourself in the perspective of a team member whose leader is kind of promoting these biases and not supporting diversity in a way that would lead to more effective business outcomes. So what do you do if a project manager is the one who is segregating the project staff? Anybody want to take that one out the gate?
I'll try. That's a very interesting question, actually, because it puts us on the other side. So let me try. I would say that one of the first steps is to communicate, try to communicate. Of course, in this case, it's not very easy because it's a manager, it's a person inside the organization that maybe you don't have lots of connections. But first thing is to try to explain. If he doesn't have ears to hear you, then you may try with somebody else in the organization. I guess that it is not an organization that doesn't value diversity at all, right? I'm doing this guess. So there might be somewhere in the organization a group of persons, of managers, of HR, of coaches that could hear you better. And go there without trying to offend anybody, but just openly in a very nice way state which the problem is. Also, you may try to offer some proposals that the specific problem could possibly be solved by this and this and that. This is one of the basic things I think one can start with. Communicate directly or indirectly. I'll think of more as the time goes by, and I'll be back after the after the session if I think of something else especially interesting.
I think also just to add on what Demetria has given, she's given two options. That's communicating directly to the individual, and then secondly, escalating to whoever in the organization probably higher and can assist you. I think another thing you can do, since for someone to actually pick up that one of the leaders is not living the values of the organization, or is creating breaking up the team because of not following or promoting diverse teams. I think that all the other thing you can do is collectively as a team come together, right? Your project manager is also part of your team. So come together and give your manager this perspective. Work together with them. Sometimes you realize they could have been doing something that was unintentional. As a project manager, we are very focused on, guys, get things done, get things done. Maybe they're not taking the time to understand people's perspective or apply empathy in the application. Maybe they're just having a bad month or a bad week. So collectively as a team, also remember that this member is a part of your team. So collectively go together and have a conversation with them. I think that will also break down that wall if they had a wall. And then secondly, it will make them feel as part of your team, that you guys care enough to openly talk to this individual. And then secondly, that you all want to work for the greater good.
Thank you, Maureen. So this next question, also from the audience, I think is really important. And this may be, I think let's direct this question to Pablo first. So question is, while a lot of organizations talk of diversity, it is often an afterthought in many organizations. So are there any metrics which can be or should be promoted to drive better diversity? So data instead of just talk, right? So Pablo, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a difficult one, but let's try to, because we say, oh, we need diversity, and we think that we are gonna have this ready next week. All of this starts from the culture, yeah. And this culture and leading by example is very important. So let me put some examples. 15 years ago, I went to one of the PMI Global Congress, and they were saying that this is the most global organization in the world, and they present 15 board of directors, 12 of them from United States, and most of them were male and old. Yeah, that was the so I say, sorry, but you are saying we are a global organization, and what's happening with the rest of the world? and this was the topic. Oh, we are working on that. 15 years later, this has changed completely. If you see the board today, they have diversity of ages, diversity of gender, diversity of regions. So since the board, you are sending the message, then this is getting a cascade effect. Now the executive leadership team has diversity. It didn't have 5 years ago. Yeah, I'm not saying so 3 years ago, it didn't have the diversity we have today. 50% at least in gender, 50%, and now it's easier to escalate this to the rest of the collaborator of the full employees. So if you don't start from the culture, and in our culture in PMI, we have two things in the culture that is talking about diversity. One is together we can, yeah, there is one culture that, and the other one is be welcoming. So how to make it happen, then I will go to the metrics, that is the question, but how to make it happen. Training is very important, yeah. When you have it, you really believe in that, you are leading by example, and then you get training into the organization that together we can, that be welcoming and have diversity, it is the starting point. How to measure that? Okay, let's put the example of gender because it's the easy one, yeah. But if you say that it has to be something like 50-50, yeah, or 60-40 on one situation, because it's very difficult to have. Okay, that's a very easy metric. Then take a look in your board, take a look in your executive team, take a look in the collaborator. Is it 50-50 or minus 20%, or you are not there yet? So that's the easy one. But similar metrics will be with any of the others. So like you put the objective, you see how is the diversity looks like, and then you see, okay, how many we have from these countries, how many from other countries, and so on and so on and so on. Not easy. It will take years. Yeah, and the example I mentioned, it took at least 15 years. We are there. We are not there yet completely, but it's embedded in our culture, and that's the most important part. Put it in the culture of the organization.
Yeah, thank you, Pablo. That's such an important point. Is it takes time, right? Years, and we're still not there yet. And then I love the C word, culture. I mean, really everything starts with culture, especially in an organization. So thank you, Pablo, for your advice on that one. The next question, we've got about 15 minutes left. So the next question from the audience is going to be for Ario. So this question is coming out of Lima, Peru. Can you please recommend how to manage projects with members of Native and original communities where the cultural difference is very marked and their idiosyncrasy is very far from the good practices of managing a project?
Wow, that's very, very difficult question, because you have people with these kind of practices, it's very difficult. But I think you can also, you have to reinforce the culture, the lessons that you need to bring to the company and also to these communities to work with these best practices in project management, and how this can go ahead to the goals of the company and also to the project. I think that that's the most important thing. You can also share the experience, share with people who have this experience of how the project management good practices, best practices can help them to achieve the goals that you have in the project. But I think that lessons learned can be a good way to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Ario. I know here in Alaska, from my experience specifically, we work a lot with Alaska Native corporations who have integrated their Native ways of working into their actual corporations and their business ways of working, which has been super interesting and valuable to not only see but learn alongside them as well, just those different ways of working and those different perspectives. Any other thoughts on that question from the panel? I know it's a little bit of a difficult one. Thank you, Ario.
From my end, just to add on what Aria has mentioned, I think it's also an opportunity for you as a project or an organization to actually adapt your ways and compromise, right? When you talk about diversity, as I started from the beginning, I was saying it doesn't just end at taking diverse groups. It needs to go beyond that. It needs to go to inclusion. So compromise. Let's have a conversation about what we can actually take on as part of this team, or because they're also valuable lessons and practices that we can actually borrow from those native communities. So let's come to an agreement and take on whatever we can take on and then work together. You realize when people are feeling like they are accepted and they're part of the family, people work much better, and performance is always improved when people feel like I belong to something bigger than just myself. So yeah, let's have a compromise. So change your mindset as well and accommodate others.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. Just going back to the importance of, as a leader, fostering that safe place. Other thoughts from the panel on that one? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to another question. So, humans have a natural tendency to hide behind a wall of self-preservation. We should ask ourselves, what am I trying to prove and to whom by hiding behind that wall of self-preservation? What am I afraid of or afraid of losing? And again, this kind of brings in the question of that bias, where that comes from and why we're potentially unwilling to let it go. So I'll repeat the question for the panel. Humans have a natural tendency to hide behind a wall of self-preservation. We should ask ourselves, what am I trying to prove and to whom? And what am I afraid of or afraid of losing? Thoughts from the panel on this one? Anybody want to take that one?
This is a very personalized question. This moment that I am talking to you, I'm afraid of 10 different things, and I'm worrying about 10 different more. Tomorrow, I may be afraid of the same things and worry about some more or some less. This depends on our background, on the experiences that we have, and on the circumstances that we live in our professional life, let's say now, or even out of it. So there is no easy question. Whatever I can say is that let's assume first that we need not to prove anything to anybody. If we are doing our best in our work, we should try our best because we work, because our company needs us to be productive and effective. We are not in the company just because we are thinking nicely or because we are talking nicely. We are there to provide some work outcome. So since I provide this work outcome, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't have to prove anything more. There is a radio station here in Greece, which I love, and its motto is be proud, be you. So we are doing the best that we can in our work, in our lives. We are proud of ourselves, and we try to continuously evolve as persons, as employees, as entrepreneurs, as persons generally, and then we are not afraid of anything.
Thank you, Dimitra. That's a great answer to a complex question. Okay, so we are wrapping up the panel here in just a few minutes. I want to thank the audience for all of your really thoughtful and great questions. Saw a lot of great conversation going on in the chat as well. So we've done a lot of chatting on the panel today. So I'd like to end the panel with another roundtable. So we'll go ahead and have everybody answer this question. So we've done a lot of talking today, right? So give me an action item for when I leave this PMI exchange session that I can take and execute upon to do better personally in supporting diversity, accepting diversity, just one action item generally that we can all do. And we'll start with Maureen.
One action item. Thank you guys for the
Yeah, pick
opportunity.
one.
Yeah. I think one action item from my side, I'd say, when we leave this place, can we all purpose to make meaningful connections with the people that we have been thinking or have put a barrier on? I can't talk to this person. I don't think we'll fit in well, or they're a minority group. I don't think I can learn anything from them. Have a conversation with this individual. Make that one meaningful connection and purpose to do this every single week, every single month, if you must. Let's not just stop at diversity. Let's move on to including others. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. That's awesome. So if you have someone that you have a hard time communicating with, or that is different from you and you're maybe nervous about collaborating with, make that intentional effort to sit down with them and understand them better. I love that. We'll do Ario next. What action item can you give us?
Well, as Marie mentioned, yes, we need to identify these different needs that we have here in our company, and how they can get comfortable with the company activities, the culture that we can share with all of them to have to identify these needs, and also they make them comfortable with that, and also they feel comfortable with the project goals and make all their efforts to achieve these goals.
Thank you, Ario. Dimitra?
In terms of securing an open and inclusive environment, I would say open our ears to our co-workers, see if something is not as it should, and take actions on that. Safety, inclusion.
Safety and inclusion. I love that.
Let me also add something that I was remembering before, but I forgot and now I remember again. And the last thing, check if you see any big or small problem in your working environment, in your teams, check if there is any offered training that you could possibly take and that could possibly help everybody. Training is not the only answer, no, but it can help us having more answers and more solutions.
Thank you, Dimitra. Julie, what action can you give for us to take away from the session today?
I think as a project manager, I believe organizations should foster effective communication by promoting cross-cultural understanding and providing by educating people and training them on, still as a project manager, our number one and top on our list is communication. So it's best that we really should improve and develop this to foster innovation and, of course, to drive better for our project outcomes.
Education and training. Get that to your team. I love it. Pablo, thanks for hanging out with us. We've got about 2 minutes left. Do you want to share your thoughts on one action, one important action we can all take away today?
You have mentioned almost everything. So one action, embed diversity in your culture. Yeah. Force it when necessary. Yeah. Sometimes you will need to force it, like the example of the age. And I will add to Julie 2 more things, because she mentioned communication. And I will mention 2 more. Communicate and communicate. Communication is the mother of whatever any single problem we have. So if we want to make diversity happen, communicate, communicate, and communicate.
Thank you, Pablo. 90% of a project manager's time is spent communicating, right? So that totally makes sense. Communication is key. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. We have our action items. This is a really important topic, and it's up to all of us as leaders to get out there and make it happen. And it'll take time, but we've got some action items. We've got some great colleagues, some great connections. There's an opportunity to connect on LinkedIn and keep this conversation going. You'll find that information in the chat. And thank you again for having me today as moderator.
Thank you, Madeline. And over to the next few more minutes. Next section, over to you, Anita.
Yes, so in the beginning of the event, we introduced you to exchange effect map, and now we present you how diverse our participation in today's event is. This information is sourced from the Menti poll that you took in the beginning. So thank you so much. And now over to Hiral for the outro section of the event.
Thank you, Anita. What an impactful session, I would say, by such diverse group of panelists, people coming from all the panelists from, say, South America, Africa, UAE, and, I was like kind of overwhelmed by the way it all took over. Very interesting, very impactful insight from all of you. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. We started with a great session or great talk from Pablo, very own PMI Board of Director. And yes, all the panelists, inclusion, understanding, communication, support, safety. These were a lot of keywords, what we talked about. And so with that, I see, let me share my screen. Okay. So is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. So, we started with like fantastic session from Pablo about how the inclusion is important and how diversity, works and why it is important for problem solving and employee retention and innovation and customer satisfaction. That was fantastic. We got a great insight about PMI Luxembourg chapter. And I was kind of very happy to know, the Golden Lady logo, which is a symbol of nation's pride. And specifically with the highest number of board members as women, that was something interesting. Being part of Women Engagement Committee in South Asia, I really liked it a lot. So Luxembourg, a great country, which is economic powerhouse and a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. So interesting thing we came to know about Luxembourg. And what do I say about panel discussion? I see it like the colors of rainbow. There are lots of takeaway about it. And, I would say that it is diverse, yet united. Like each color in rainbow, it has unique wavelength. Whatever discussion we had today, the points like, communication or inclusion or strategizing, invest in identifying, valuing the vividness, all these points, they are kind of varied aspects of diversity. But when we bring all of them together, they kind of create a breathtaking, vivid display like rainbow, And it's very much in the hands of project managers like us who can create this beautiful picture of the team, who can build a diverse team. So I kind of kept it with all the colors of rainbow. So starting with, I will say, value vividness. Oreo and Maureen talked about it a lot, that you value your people, you understand them. I like the way Oreo said, identify the interest and identify the influence which is coming from your group, understand the culture. Dimitri talked a lot about communication. So I say open for communication, open to collaborate. That was something interesting. Again, from Maureen and Oreo, it came that at the end, it's the end goal we have to see together. So when we put all this together, we can build a diverse team with the set goals. We can strategize. Everybody talked about diversity in generation. That was the most talked about topic today. And yes, it's an important one. And all these colors which we talk about, it's important that I would say that bridging the gap by giving the training, coaching people, respecting them, understanding, giving them the feel of safety. Interesting things coming out of today's discussion to take forward the diverse team what we want to build it together. And especially I would say that the talk about emotional intelligence or empathy from Oreo was, yes, it touched me a lot, that the people touch is very important, the emotional touch is very important, and it's important that we invest into that, respect the opinions. All these points were wonderful. At the end, I see that it's when all together we bring all these aspects, like valuing the vividness or investing in identifying the interest and influence, or bridging the gap, getting the feedback, inclusion, the biggest point, the inclusion part, opening up for the communication, collaborating, respecting, and going a way beyond. When Maureen said you should go way beyond, that was really great. You need to take 2 steps forward and understand the people who are there in your team, who are from maybe a diverse culture. And yes, today is the world where this is very, very important. So to wrap up, I would say the beauty of the rainbow is ever changing. No two people can see it in the same way. It's exactly how you see. So we got different views from different panelists today, and it's completely into our hands that how do we use all these key points which are there in front of you to take your business forward, to take your projects forward, and create a masterpiece like a rainbow, or a master team like a rainbow. That's the takeaway. So yes, altogether, it is nothing but a process of engaging, including everyone within the organization in an attempt to meld them into a cohesive culture. That is what I would say is diversity. And at the end, I would say Chapter Exchange is the greatest example. we all, as Priya said, we have hardly met each other, maybe once or maybe never, but we work together every month and things go successfully fine. So yeah, with this note, thank you, and over to you, Anita.
Thank you, Hiral. Wow, that's amazing. So vibrant and colorful conclusion. Thank you, our guest speakers and panelists, for making this session so engaging. Pablo, Maureen, Oreo, Madeleine, Julie, and Dimitra, thank you so much for accepting invitation to participate in Chapter Exchange event. And all attendees, please take a moment to provide your feedback by scanning the QR code or through the link. Please also share the topics you would like to hear on the next events. And now thank you to Sunil and Amot for your help as WebEx admins in making this event smooth as ever. Damika, thank you for the flyers and social media posts. Damika is our chapter leader from Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, Priscilla, for event analysis, which helped us a lot to put together this awesome event in terms of registration and experience. And Hiral, I'm impressed with the outro section. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, attendees. Once again, panelists, our session moderator, and the team working around the clock to make this event yet another success. PDU code you could see displayed on the screen, and also there will be email sent to your inboxes. So over to you, Priya.
Yes. So, yes, Anita, thank you very much. By the way, it was Shane who created the flyers. So, Shane, thank you very much for creating these wonderful flyers. And everyone, thank you for joining this diverse panel and making this discussion so vibrant, just like a rainbow. And we will meet you again next month, again with a very, very exciting topic. And I hope to see you then again, and with a wonderful, another diverse panel and a wow outro. According to Priscilla, we should rename the outro section as wow outro. So I think we will do that because it was just wow. So thank you everyone for joining, and see you again soon.